The story revolves around a black woman doctor, Elena Harper, a powerful and successful woman who experiences a humiliating moment of judgment based on her appearance, only to reveal a truth that changes everything. One day she arrives at a private terminal, poised and confident, dressed in a tailored blazer and carrying herself with grace. Elena is headed for a private flight to Chicago, a chartered jet she had arranged through her company, Harper Global. At the terminal, she is met by a captain and flight attendant who quickly dismiss her as a wrong gate passenger, assuming she doesn't belong. The captain, with a condescending tone, tells her this jet is for private clients and suggests she go to the main terminal. When Elena insists she is the one booked on the flight, the captain's skepticism grows, and the flight attendant also questions her, scrutinizing her appearance and luggage. However, Elena remains calm and composed, pulling out her reservation details on her phone to prove she's the rightful passenger. Despite their doubts, the flight attendant checks and confirms her booking, but the captain continues to give Elena an icy reception. Elena steps onto the jet, which is a lavish symbol of her success, equipped with plush seating and polished wood paneling. She briefly reflects on how the jet is a tool for her business before the tension escalates further. The crew's disdain for her is palpable, with whispered comments about her not belonging there. When Elena sits down, the captain follows her on board, stating there's been a mistake. He explains that the arrangements for the flight are exclusive, and implies that Elena must have been misinformed. Elena, unshaken, responds that she made the arrangements herself, and that the jet is owned by her company, Harper Global. The captain, caught off guard by her response, falters. Elena presses further, questioning if the staff were misinformed by the aviation department or the executive team that manages the jet. As the captain struggles to recover, the flight attendant, Aaron, steps forward, explaining that they weren't told the owner would be flying on this particular flight. Elena's sharp retort, "You assumed," cuts through the tension, exposing the crew's prejudice and assumptions. The situation takes a powerful turn when Elena calmly reveals her identity and the truth about her ownership of the jet. With a steady hand, she demands accountability for the disrespect she faced. The crew, having underestimated her because of her appearance, is now forced to confront the reality of their mistake. In an act of decisive justice, Elena decides to fire the entire crew, a move that leaves everyone speechless. This story is a powerful example of resilience and transformation, showing how Elena was judged based on superficial assumptions, but used the situation to assert her authority and integrity. By the end of the incident, Elena's calm and dignified response highlights the importance of self-respect and standing firm in the face of bias and discrimination. Her actions serve as a reminder of the impact of judgment, the power of knowing one's worth, and the significance of owning one's story. Elena Harper stood tall, her presence commanding the space of the private jet as she walked up the steps. The crew, with their professional uniforms and polished smiles, failed to hide their skepticism as their eyes swept over her. The cold tension in the air spoke volumes, an unspoken assumption that she didn't belong here. As the only black woman in the room, Elena could feel the weight of their judgment even before a word was spoken. The flight attendants, Captain Carter and Aaron, exchanged glances, their attitudes veiled under professional facades. But the hostility was unmistakable. From the moment she stepped onto the plane, Elena was treated with nothing but condescension and dismissiveness, an experience she had faced far too many times in her life. Her instincts, honed over the years, told her exactly what they thought. They didn't see a successful businesswoman, a powerful entrepreneur. No, they saw someone they presumed was out of place. As Elena locked eyes with Aaron, she could see her mouth opening and closing, a flurry of thoughts swirling around but no words to justify her actions. It was time for the confrontation. "You assumed I didn't belong here because of how I look," Elena said, her voice low but carrying the weight of years of experience. Her gaze never wavered from Aaron's, whose face drained of color, her body stiffening with unease. "That's not what I meant," Aaron stammered, but Elena wasn't buying it. "Then what did you mean?" Elena pressed, her voice unwavering, her stance strong. The silence that followed was deafening. Carter shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Elena's piercing gaze, while Aaron clutched her clipboard as if it were a lifeline. The third crew member, A young flight attendant who had remained silent until now looked down at her shoes, clearly wishing she were anywhere but here. Elena's patience was gone. "I'll tell you what it was about," she continued, her voice steady but firm. "It was about assumptions. You saw a black woman walk up to this jet and decided that I couldn't possibly be the one in charge. You decided that I couldn't possibly be your employer, and instead of checking the facts, you chose to demean and dismiss me." Carter opened his mouth, no doubt ready to respond, but Elena silenced him with a raised hand. "I've heard enough," she said, her voice sharp. "I don't have the patience to entertain excuses." Her gaze turned to Aaron, and Elena's eyes narrowed with precision. "You mocked me in front of other passengers. You treated me as though I were invisible, unworthy of basic respect. Is that how you represent this company?" she demanded. "No, ma'am," Aaron whispered, barely audible. "I didn't mean—" "You didn't mean to get caught," Elena interrupted, her tone biting. "Let's be clear about that." Carter, realizing the gravity of the situation, stepped forward. "Miss Harper, if I may," he started, his voice now tinged with uncertainty. "We deeply regret any misunderstanding. This is, of course, a learning opportunity, and we'll ensure this doesn't happen again." Elena raised an eyebrow, her disbelief evident. "A learning opportunity?" she echoed, her voice laden with sarcasm. "You're mistaken if you think this is a moment for reflection. This is a moment for accountability." Without another word, she reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. She made a quick call to the terminal manager, her voice steady as she stated her name and the nature of the incident. "Yes, this is Elena Harper. I need the terminal manager at Gate 5 immediately. There's been an incident with the crew of my jet, and I want it addressed before departure." The crew exchanged nervous glances. The realization that they had crossed a line was settling in. Minutes felt like hours as Elena remained calm and composed, her every move calculated. She opened her tablet, her fingers gliding over the screen, absorbed in her work, but every moment of silence felt heavy with tension. She wasn't just letting the crew stew in their discomfort, she was making them reflect on their actions, to face the consequences of their assumptions. The terminal manager arrived shortly after, his steps hurried and his face flushed from exertion. He was a tall man, impeccably dressed in a navy suit that seemed ill-suited to the midday heat. His expression was a mixture of urgency and dread as he entered the cabin. "Miss Harper," he began, his tone deferential. "I came as quickly as I could. I deeply apologize for any inconvenience you've experienced." Elena didn't look up from her tablet but acknowledged him with a nod. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Rowland," she said evenly, before adding, "I trust you've been briefed?" The manager hesitated, then nodded, though his discomfort was palpable. "I was informed there was an issue with the crew," he said, his voice tight. "I'd like to assure you, ma'am, that we take these matters very seriously." Elena gestured toward the crew, her eyes unblinking as she addressed the issue head-on. "Then I suggest you start by addressing their behavior. From the moment I arrived, I was met with nothing but condescension and blatant discrimination. They made assumptions about who I am and what I'm capable of based on nothing more than how I look." Rowland's face turned red as he turned to face the crew, his tone growing more serious. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice low but stern. Carter shifted uncomfortably, his usual confidence shattered. "There was a misunderstanding," he mumbled, avoiding eye contact. "You didn't realize I was what?" Elena cut in, her voice sharp. "Your employer? The owner of this jet? Someone deserving of basic respect?" The manager's discomfort was clear as he turned back to face Elena. "Miss Harper, I deeply regret this incident. Rest assured, it will be dealt with appropriately." "I'm sure it will," Elena replied coldly. "But let's be clear, this isn't just about me. It's about the culture of this company. This behavior didn't come out of nowhere. It's a symptom of a larger issue, one that I will not tolerate." The manager nodded vigorously. "Absolutely, ma'am. We'll implement whatever measures you deem necessary." Elena's eyes hardened, and her decision was swift. "I've already taken measures," she stated with authority. "Effective immediately, Captain Carter and Aaron are relieved of their duties. They are no longer welcome to represent this company or its values." Carter's face drained of color, while Aaron let out a small gasp of disbelief. "Miss Harper, please," Carter began, his voice rising in desperation. "I've been with this company for years. This was an honest mistake." "An honest mistake?" Elena repeated, her voice ice cold. "You humiliated me in front of a crowd. You dismissed me without even checking the facts. That wasn't a mistake. That was a choice, and it speaks volumes about your character." Aaron, who had remained silent until now, stepped forward, her hands clasped tightly together. "Miss Harper, I truly didn't mean any harm. You were just perpetuating the same biases that have plagued people like me for generations." Elena interrupted sharply. "Your intentions are irrelevant. What matters are your actions, and those actions have consequences." Tears welled in Aaron's eyes, but Elena's expression remained stern, unyielding. She turned to the manager. "Ensure their termination is processed immediately, and make it clear to the rest of the staff that this kind of behavior will not be tolerated." The manager nodded solemnly. "It will be done, ma'am." Elena collected her tablet and stood up, her commanding presence filling the cabin. "And one more thing, Mr. Rowland," she added. "Conduct a full review of your hiring and training practices. Bias, whether conscious or unconscious, has no place in my organization. I want a report on my desk within the week." Rowland straightened, his expression resolute. "Yes, ma'am. Consider it done." Without another word, Elena walked toward the cabin door. As she passed the now silent crew, she paused, her gaze sweeping over them one last time. "Let this be a lesson," she said calmly but firmly. "Respect isn't optional. It's a requirement. And when you fail to meet that standard, you'll find there's no place for you here." With that, she descended the stairs, leaving the crew and the terminal manager behind, the sunlight outside warm but unchanging. Elena climbed into her waiting car, the engine humming softly as the car drove away from the airport. She allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. The battle wasn't over, not by a long shot. But for today, she had made her mark, and she would continue to do so, one confrontation at a time. Let me know in the comments below which one of these enjoyed the video. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon so you never miss our upcoming videos. Stay tuned, and we will catch you in the next video. Take care. Thanks for watching.